Hi, and welcome to a Chip Off the Old Block Toys. I'm Jeff. Today is going to be part 2 of building Seinfeld's apartment, which is Lego set 21328. We've gotten bags 1 through 4 done yesterday, and that's right here in front of me. We're going to go ahead and keep going and hopefully have a fun discussion about Seinfeld and the many episodes. It was 180 episodes that it ran for in a total of 9 seasons. So it's a great show. Hey Greg, how you doing? How's your day been? Just putting Elaine Venice together here. And I'm going to set this aside. See the building. Looks like we're starting in on some of the cabinets. Just got done eating. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I'm done here. In fact, I'm kind of thinking about spoiling myself tonight. There's this really good Tex-Mex place next to me. It's a little hole-in-the-wall joint, but I love it. And thinking about heading there tonight after the live stream. I'm in the mood for their nachos. They serve a huge plate. I can never finish it. Hello, Jenny. Thanks for joining. I hope you had a good day today. And Greg, I hope you had a great day too. Greg says large chicken fried steak, side of salad and fries. Sounds good about right now. We've got another joint around us. It's called the Black Bear Diner. I've only been there once, but it was really good. And I don't know if it's not too busy, maybe that place. Janae says, I'm really busy this evening, so I won't be on here much, but wanted to say hi. Well, thank you for joining. I appreciate that. Appreciate any time anybody spends with me. So, but I had a really good day at work today. I was able to get a lot done, and always like those kind of days. Okay, now we need to bring the apartment here. All right. We got some more work on the apartment here. Kind of reminds me of the Bare Naked Lady song, Welcome to the Old Apartment, this is where we used to live. But no, this is a really good show. I was thinking about it a little bit before I came on here, and I loved the stuff that went on in the count, like the episode Everyone Loves the Drake, and then by the end of the episode they're saying everyone hates the Drake. Greg says, what do you think about my picks? Are you talking about the what do you call it, Dinobots? Because if we are, those are awesome. I used to have Grimlock. He was the only one that I had as a kid, the toy. Always enjoyed them. They relied on brute strength to get things done, and was a little disappointed in how they got or represented the Dinobots in the movie series. The human one with humans, not the cartoon. So, and Nick says I'm going to be joining my other account. Okay, great, Nick. Thanks for joining us. And know if you guys remember the Seinfeld episode where Elaine thought that baby was ugly, and she tried to get the doctor to say the baby was ugly, but he wouldn't. I don't know. There's just something about that show. There's so many good episodes. I mean, there's the big salad episode where Elaine just has to have the big salad. Kind of corny, but I liked it. Oh, we need some stickers. And now that Eminem song goes off, you only got one shot. And of course, they've got a small Superman on the fridge, and that was Jerry's favorite comic, and he loved Superman. He thought he wore like a Superman shirt when he did that race episode. And yes, each sitcom does have its own charm. I would talk about others, but this is purely about Seinfeld. Alright. Got a little fridge with a water and ice maker. I think that's pretty cool, pretty ingenious. Might have to borrow that idea for some of my other things I do. Let's go ahead and move on to the next piece, whatever it might be. Oh yeah, and what about the episode where George believes that his girlfriend is bulimic, and it just so happens that Kramer's mom works at that restaurant, and she passes up the towels in the bathroom, and George convinces her to do it, but then she quits before she can do it, and George gets upset. I love that microwave. Again, that is an idea that I might have to borrow. And Kramer's mom was named Babs. And then, of course, we found out in that same episode that Kramer's real name was Cosmo. And I loved how they, everybody, Jerry and Elaine, just thought that was hilarious. Oh, and then there was the episode where Newman and Kramer were playing Risk, and how Elaine was talking about how it's two men who can't even control their own life, but yet they want to play a game of world domination. And that was pretty funny. Cosmo and Wanda, yes. It's a good show. And I have to say, you know, I watched the interview, and I agree with Jerry. Jerry Seinfeld, in an interview that he gave a couple years after the show had discontinued, people asked him, well, why did you discontinue? Because usually shows, you know, they start off and the ratings start falling after a certain amount of time, and that's when they stop the shows, when the ratings start falling. Well, in this particular case, the ratings were not falling. They were actually going up. And Jerry had a really good answer to that. Jerry just said that he did it because he wanted to quit the show on a high note while it was good. And that's why they ended it when they did. So I actually think that was a really smart move. And I can't remember who has the rights to it now. It was Sony for a while, but I think they sold it as well. Not really sure what we're building just yet. Maybe the kitchen counter. Oh yeah. I can't repeat the name that was on the license plate because I would probably, I'm not monetized yet anyway, but later on it would get demonetized if it already got monetized. But when Kramer got that license plate of the proctologist, that was one of the best episodes. That had me in stitches. I love when he goes to DMV to complain, and they're like, "Oh no, there's not a mistake. According to the state of New York, you are the man." I just really thought that was put together really well. And then there was that episode where George's parents decide to call it quits, and George said that he couldn't stand it because if he ever saw his mom out there like he was out there, that he wasn't going to make it. He was going to die. That was a good episode too. Man, but I mentioned this in the last live stream, but I really liked the last episode. Very clever way to fit a ton of characters and a ton of reviews of the things that happen on the show without doing the Chronicles. They did the Seinfeld Chronicles as the 100th episode, where they did a 1 hour review of many of the things that have already happened in the show. It was a very clever way of doing it without having to do a Chronicle show. So I thought that was pretty cool. We got these cool little stools here. Want to see how the functions on the back? Yeah, I would love to. I think that would be pretty cool. I do have the it's an older one, but I do have the Scarecrow set with a little biplane, and I've got the Croc. I forgot the exact name of the Croc one. I've also got the Batcave. I've got quite a few of the Batmans, the older ones. And it probably would be worth investing in the other thing. I gotta turn this around. I can't do this upside down. Okay. Well, I'm not sure what happened here. I did get some time to lay out the pieces for the first 2 bags of this, make it a little easier. Of course, I can make it a lot easier on myself by following the directions 100%. And then there was the episode where George bought that convertible car that was supposed to be owned by John Voight, but he had no idea if it was the famous John Voight or just a regular one, and it was just a little handwritten little thing in there. Not one of the better episodes, but still funny. And what about the episode where they saw that guy eating the Snickers with a fork and a knife, and then all of a sudden just about everyone starts doing that? That was a pretty silly episode. Oh yeah, and then there was the episode where Jerry wanted a private moment with his girlfriend, and he couldn't get it back at the apartment, so they went to go see Schindler's List, and they were making out in Schindler's List, and I can't remember if somebody who knew the parents, Jerry's parents, was at the movie theater, and they told Jerry's parents about it, and they were upset with him for making out during Schindler's List, saying that's not really an appropriate moment. I swear, if it wasn't for bad luck, those guys would have no luck at all. I could not imagine how embarrassed I would be if I went to Schindler's List, and first of all, making out during Schindler's List, that's not really a romantic movie, as y'all know. And then plus the fact that Jerry is Jewish in the show, and I don't know if he is in real life, but he is in the show, so kind of insulting towards his own people in the show. So, but funny nonetheless, funny. And Greg says, I just recorded the machine gun and the steering function. Yeah, send that to me. Things have actually calmed down. It's amazing what happens when you're no longer taking care of a 2-year-old. Not that I'm not speaking ill of her. I enjoyed her being here, but also not having that responsibility has freed up a lot of things for me. That out of the way. Oh yes. And what about that episode where that nerdy guy had a crush on Elaine, and she went and bought the pencil, and that guy took every opportunity he could to harass her over that, and I think it was in a separate episode, that mannequin ended up looking just like Elaine, and then they found out it was designed by that same nerdy guy who had the crush on her in the pencil an episode earlier than that. That was pretty good. And a little bathroom humor, literally. There was that episode where Elaine was in the bathroom and the stall did not have toilet paper. And she asked the lady next to her if she could spare a square, and she could not. And then come to find out, I think Jerry was dating her, that girl. So anyway, kind of a funny one. And then I forget her name, but she's a deaf actor. And Jerry dated her on the show in an episode, and he used that her abilities to lip read to have them lip read conversations, and she had no problems doing it. And I thought that was funny. And I've seen that lady in other shows, and she's a good actress. I think I've mentioned this before, but my mother's deaf. And she has been deaf ever since she was 6 months old. So I grew up with that. Okay, there is something. This is not working. Yeah, probably because I didn't do it right. Okay. So I like that episode just because it had a famous deaf actor in there. That was pretty good. Oh man, are you still subscribed, John? Because you said, hey, I never got the alert. I had to search for the channel. Yeah, you know, I actually have had not too many, but I've had a few people tell me lately, ask me if I kicked them off the channel because they just signed in one day and they were no longer subscribed. And I don't know what the criteria YouTube uses or why they do that, but I do know that they do occasionally, John. Please check and see if you're still subscribed. I hate for you guys for that to happen. All right, we get a. I think this was the one with the picture of George in his underwear. Jason Alexander, that's the guy who played George. He was in the movie Shallow Hal, which I really liked. Okay, Greg says he sent it. Thank you, Greg. I will take a look at that after the live feed here. Okay, there's something wrong because it's not. No, there we go. It's not leveled up. There it is. I don't remember seeing Elaine, Julia Dreyfus, in many movies. She was in Christmas Vacation, but I really don't remember her being in much. And maybe that's just me. Maybe she's been in a lot more than I remember. And don't know if you guys remember the episode with the library book. Where Jerry had forgotten about it, and he tried to return it after all those years, and then there was a library cop, which I've never heard of before, a library cop, but okay, maybe only in New York City, and he ends up getting in more trouble because he returned the book than if he would have just forgotten about it. But that's the whole story, though. You know, the whole sitcom is about these in situations that really don't mean much, but they turn into something and then ends up being really hilarious. Like the time that they wanted to go see that movie, and this is George, by the way, with the Marbled Rye episode. But there was that other episode where they were waiting. They had a movie to go to, and they had this Chinese restaurant they went to, and they were hoping to get a table and eat before, but the guy who kept calling the reservations just kept skipping over them, and they gave him like I think $20 to call them ahead, and he doesn't, and they give up because they want to go see the movie. So they walk out, and almost literally immediately after they walked out, they ended up getting called, but you know they left, so they missed their table and they were out their $20. And I think that was the same episode that George kept trying to use the phone to call his girlfriend, and there was somebody on the phone, and they wouldn't get off the phone. And see, these are everyday problems that, you know, especially the pay phones. Back before cell phones, yeah, you had to wait for someone to get off the phone if they were on it. And nowadays, I mean, no one's ever on my phone, just me. But I do like how they did that. Oh, okay, well, I need to pay attention here. And also, you know, the trouble of waiting for a table, and how sometimes, especially when you're really hungry, it seems that it takes forever. Common things that, you know, they made fun of and they poked fun at, and they made it funny. Oh, and I think this is just about every guy's favorite episode, the one about the fake implants, or they thought they were fake implants, Jerry's girlfriend. And so Elaine went into the sauna to see if they were real, and it wasn't planned. She wasn't supposed to do this. She was supposed to find out from girl talk whether they were real or not, and she ended up tripping and touching them, and they still didn't know if they were real. And then I remember in the finale, his lawyer Jackie ends up sleeping with that girl in the hotel, and she told Seinfeld. He told Seinfeld at the court that They're real and they were spectacular. And I thought that was one of the best episodes. Just really silly. And I think that I don't remember the name of the actress, but I think she went on to play in Desperate Housewives, if I remember right. Oh yeah. Do you guys remember Babu? I think he was Pakistani. And well, I ruined my one shot. The Pakistani guy who owns the restaurant close to Jerry's apartment, and I think it was Jerry who convinces him to stop selling American food and go with Pakistani food, and tells him he'll be more successful, and instead he loses the restaurant. Again, just an example of those guys creating problems for other people. In a later episode, Babu's visa application ends up, I think, going in Jerry's mailbox by accident, and Jerry doesn't give it in time, and he gets deported. And I gotta go get that. Again, just those group of people just always created problems for themselves and for everybody else. So, but that's part of what made it funny, is that sometimes you could see it coming, but a lot of times you really could not see the trouble coming. And that keeping you guessing part is what I liked about the show. And we've got another sticker here. I think this is the intercom system. Yeah. There's that episode of that girl that Jerry was dating that they made a comment about her nose, and then she ends up getting the nose job, and just crazy stuff like that. That was the norm around there. Oh, and what about the episode where Kramer gets hit in the mouth or something, and he can't talk very well, and he's got them weird shoes on, and he ends up sharing a cab with somebody who thinks he's like a special needs person, and so they end up asking him to come to some conference and give a talk, and it turns out that he ends up healing up before the conference. Just some silly stuff. And then there's the other one where George loses his keychain, and it takes him a while to figure out what happened to it, and it ended up falling into a pothole. And then the city of New York came along and filled that pothole, so his keys were stuck in there. But you could still hear his keychain, because his keychain had a thing that said "Holy cow!" And George ends up not wanting to pay the city because they would charge too much to get it done. So I believe he rents a jackhammer and ends up trying it himself, which of course ends in disaster because he hit water. The ending scene to that was there was a geyser that was created, kind of like, and his keys go flying up, and it says "Holy cow" on the way up and out. So, That does not want to go in. Let me make sure I got that on there correctly. Yeah, I do. So, okay. Let's see if I can. Okay, it's on there. I like how they angled that. It's a pretty neat technique they used there. Oh. And then I'm reminded of the episode where they went to go see that surgery, and they're in the observation platform, I guess you call it. And I think it was Jerry was eating Junior Mints, and during the surgery he accidentally drops one and it lands in the patient. The patient's cut open on the table. So it's just silly stuff with those people. But whoever thought of these ideas was very clever. I mean, these are situations I would never find myself in, and couldn't imagine ever finding myself in it. So really appreciate that they came up with that. And then I don't know if you guys remember the episode with Kramer and the Cuban cigars, and then we find out that they're not really rolled by Cubans, they're rolled by two Puerto Ricans. So again, this crazy stuff going on there. And was it Kramer and the calzones? Ends up getting George in trouble at work because his boss wanted one. Oh, and how could I forget the episode where poor George, where he was in the pool and he gets out, and then Jerry's girlfriend happens to see him naked because she walks in the door, and because he'd been in the pool, it shrunk, and all he could say in defense was, "I was in the pool," and her cruel remark of, "I'm sorry," and then she looks down at his junk and says, "I'm really sorry." And then of course George wanted to see her naked and said it was only fair. Kind of backwards thinking there. And Greg, how do I like the set so far? I absolutely love it. There's only one thing I would change to it, and that is adding the bathroom, because Jerry did have a bathroom in the series, and the reason that I would want there to be a bathroom is because Jerry was a germaphobe, and so there was that episode where his girlfriend did that thing with a toothbrush, and he was upset about it. And then there was also the episode where Jerry starts shaving his body hair, especially his chest hair, and so the bathroom was part of the show. And since we already have the set here, why not build the bathroom? But no, that's not a major criticism. I don't think the set at all is subpar or anything. I actually like the set quite a bit. How are you liking it so far? Looks like we got a bookshelf here of sorts. Oh yeah, do you guys remember the episode where Jerry goes to California, and I think he's trying to be on the Tonight Show or Letterman Show, and while he's there, they mistake Kramer for the serial killer that's out on the loose, and he gets oh boy, he gets arrested. I mean, he gets figured out, yeah, but that was a pretty silly episode, pretty crazy stuff. Cuba has nice people with a rotten government. I will agree with that all day long. I have actually worked with a few Cubans, and I didn't work with a lot of them. Two I could think of, and both were very hardworking, good family people, honest people. So, if I have to shape my opinion off those experiences, I would say that they were really good people. And any government that keeps its people down is not a good government. So I will say that. Oh, I'm reminded of the episode with George where there was that mix-up and Jerry ends up asking George to go cover for him by going see the Bubble Boy. And I can't remember why the Bubble Boy was in the bubble, but I do remember that they played Trivial Pursuit, and George got all upset about the moops. Looks like a little stereo here. Yep, a little stereo. Bookshelf so far. Oh yeah, what about the one where Elaine was dating crazy Joe Davola? He really was crazy. Same with Venezuela. You know, I actually have known a couple people that have lived in Venezuela as well, and but they lived in Venezuela back in the '90s before things got really crazy there, and they will tell you any day of the week that communism is not good, and they know the difference. They've actually lived it, so. Well, they've seen their country what it is now versus what it was. And here we have a bookshelf with a stereo in it. And it looks like we got a little table to build next. Oh, and you guys remember the episode where Jerry, through a mix-up, ends up in the limo and ends up being a bad idea because the guy who was supposed to have the limo wasn't necessarily a good guy, and Kramer and, oh no, I think it was George and Elaine was in there with them. Again, just a lot of silliness in these episodes. And we gotta build. Oh, these are chairs. Well, that's pretty cool. I like these. Reminds me of the old plastic chairs. Oh, and there was that episode with Kramer and what's his name, Newman, and they had that claim that Mets player spit on him, and somehow it ends up hitting both Kramer and Newman, and Jerry gets tired of the story eventually, and just says that and demonstrates how It just, the law of physics are against them, and it could not have happened that way. And then they admit it didn't happen that way. But that was a pretty decent episode as well. Oh, and I'm thinking about that episode where Jerry was dating that girl who kind of had the hot voice, and she was a cashier, and she went to Jerry's comedy routine and didn't like it, and then she ends up telling him she can't be with him because she has a job that she can't respect. And I remember he gets upset and he's like, "But you're a cashier," and I am not putting down anybody who's a cashier. I think every job is essential, and I am glad there's people that do what they do. But that was the irony was that she was a cashier and didn't respect his job and didn't want to date him, but yet he was a successful comedian. So. And Greg says liberalism is a disease that they're forcing Marxism down our throats. And I did see a meme the other day, and I don't usually get political, but I think this is funny. And I'm not saying I agree with it, I just think it's funny. And it was, it's a lady who's at the doctor's office, and her doctor's walked in to ask her some questions. And the question he asked her is there a history of mental illness in your family? And she says, yes, my sister's a Democrat. So I'm not making fun of Democrats personally. I just think it's funny. And Greg, this is probably a little before your time, but President Ronald Reagan used to crack me up. I used to watch some of the speeches as a kid when he was running for president, and that guy didn't mind telling a joke, and his jokes are funny. And it made a lot of people upset because, they really didn't care. He would just say it. And you know something? There we go. Need to pay attention a little bit more. And that was another thing too. I will just state this, that I think that no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, I think that if everyone had more understanding for each other and we're just nicer to each other, I think the world would be a better place regardless of politics and in spite of. Alright, so we got the couch, and there was that episode where Kramer threw out his couch. Jerry, sorry, no, wrong person. And then, oh yes, do you remember the episode where George thinks he had the heart attack, and he's in the hospital, and instead it was just needing his tonsils taken out. My favorite part of that episode was where George tells Jerry that it's not worth living anymore and all that, and so Jerry grabs the pillow at his hospital bed and puts it over his face, and George gets upset, and he's like, "What did you do that for?" He said, "Well, you said life wasn't worth living." But that was pretty funny. I love this little lampshade with the end table there. That's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this is the table with the old phone. And I remember that Jerry in that series, he originally had a phone with a cord, and I remember when he went to the cordless phone on that show, I thought that was just the coolest thing. But then I watched that today, and I'm like, if I were to watch that today, which I have recently, it just really dates the show because the show ended in '98, but back in '98 was the day that not many people had cell phones, and most people. They had a landline, and it was cord. It had a cord to it, and all that. It was plugged into the wall, and basically, where I'm going with this is that caller ID was not even that just barely came out at that time. And I remember when I first got caller ID. I remember the phone company charged an arm and a leg for that too, man. It was like an extra like $20 a month, and back in the '90s, that's a lot more than $20 today. But anyway, I remember where Jerry got the cordless phone, the cordless phone, and I thought that was really cool. And Greg says, I was brought up in a very conservative family and a conservative school district. They taught me the evils of Marxism. And Ronald Reagan was the last great president we got, then went downhill. And, I will agree, after that, it did go downhill. I have a lot of respect for Reagan for his part in bringing down the Berlin Wall, which brought freedom to millions and millions of people. Not just in the old USSR, but also in Eastern Europe, which I can only imagine what that would be like living in Eastern Europe during World War II and right after. You're an independent country, you get taken over by Germany, and then you think you're being liberated, and you're looking forward to being liberated, but your liberators never leave. And all of a sudden you have a government that you don't like, and a government that there's constant food shortages and other things. I imagine that would be very hard to deal with. Oof, I did it again. And it'd also be just very depressing. So we got chair, couch, and chair. And I was reading today that inflation has shot up quite a bit. Not that I really want to get too deep on that, but eroding away the purchasing power of money, and that is going to become a big problem if it's not solved here quickly. And then there was the episode where Jerry accidentally swore in front of that kid, and then the kid started swearing, and then the mom got mad because she said Jerry should be an example because he's a famous comedian. And of course, they bleeped out the words, so you never knew exactly what he said. You had an idea, but... Oh, okay, let me... Alright, we got one last bag and we're almost there. Bag number 9, guys and gals. And this is going to be Newman, the postman. And these letters are different. These tiles are different than the other Lego tiles. I wished I had realized this was going to be in here. I'd pull one of the old ones and show you the difference, but I don't have them readily available. Oh, did we already place this? I just missed it. No, we did not. Oh, okay, so we're building some studio lights. Oh, you just realized I don't stream in the morning. I do on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings usually. However, I will say I'm not going to be streaming tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to have a video for tomorrow. Although I might do the review of Mos Eisley Cantina or Dom's Charger. That's the last two that I've done. I haven't done reviews yet. I might do that and post it in the morning. But live stream tomorrow will not happen tomorrow morning. I'm really flirting with the HOA, getting a letter from them. Because I got a couple sprinkler heads that decided to sink. And so I got some brown spots in my lawn. And well, if anybody here has ever dealt with an HOA, you know what a wonderful pain they can be. And ours is a pain. Ours is very aggressive. And so I don't want to give them a reason to give me a letter. So before the sun gets out too far tomorrow, I'm going to be out there digging up some sprinkler heads and throwing some sand underneath them. So that'll be my project for tomorrow morning. But taking a break won't be bad for me. I should probably relax more often. In fact, if I had the money right now, I think I'd go on another cruise. I've been on one cruise my whole life, and it was a blast. I absolutely loved being on a cruise. I was only a 5-day cruise, and can you believe that, or maybe you can believe this, but I ended up gaining 6 pounds in those 5 days. Nick's Bricks by Nick, yes. I love that emoji you used. That's funny. But it's so easy to gain weight on a cruise, man. I mean, they've got just constant food 24/7. It's hard, and I admit I failed. And that was during a time in my life when that was 5 years ago, and I had gotten my weight down to 200, and so I was actually doing really good. And then I went on that cruise, and it was like, oh boy. So, but I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. It was a lot of fun. I mean, you know. And in fact, I kind of wish Seinfeld, that would have been funny if they would have done a cruise video. Can you imagine the kind of trouble they would have got themselves into? That would be hilarious. Oh, and there was the episode where Jerry was on the plane with that guy, an older gentleman, and he ended up having Bell's palsy, and he was in the Bell's palsy center, and he was taking care of that guy's dog, and it just kept barking, driving Jerry completely just nuts. And that was a good episode, and Jerry didn't believe that he was in the Bell's palsy center. Alright, so we're done with camera number 3. Now we've got camera number 4. right. I want to ride the train. Oh, ride the Trans-Siberian Railway. Yes, I understand that takes several days to actually go across the whole entire thing. But I think that would be really cool. I mean, why not? I actually watched a documentary on how it was built and how long it took and many problems they had building it. Alright, well that concludes bag number 9, which is the end of this set. And this set, in my opinion, is completely awesome. I just love every little bit about it. The bookshelf here with the different colored books, the different pictures. I love the couch and the chair, the table with the chairs, and the end table with the lamp, the old phone, the soda can. I love the kitchen. I love the range here, how they use the bars that are usually on the front of a vehicle to represent the range there. I love the cereal and all that stuff here in the kitchen. The refrigerator is awesome. Anyway, I just think this is a really cool set. Really like it, and I'll give a full review of it in another video. Thank you for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Be good to each other and stay safe out there. And one last piece of advice that comes from a Seinfeld episode: don't make out during Schindler's List. It's not a cool thing. But I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a good one.